What's up, everyone? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on this big ball that we call home. You're back with me, Ian Kane. A massive welcome to this week's installment of DappRadar Meets. The date today is Wednesday, the 31st of August. And I know I say it every week, but oh my God, that has gone fast. A big hello to all the listeners. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. It's cool to be here. I'm straight out the back of another live recording today, and we had our DappRadar community call yesterday. So it's been a week of live calls and, well, how to say it nicely, a little bit stressful, but ultimately lots of fun. So yeah, I hope everyone out there is having a great week so far. Today, I am super honored to welcome Sidharth Menon to the stage. He's the co-founder of India's largest crypto exchange and now his new project, Tegro. I want to do a quick sound check. Do we have you there, Sidharth? How are you doing?
Hey Ken, I can hear you loud and clear. I'm really excited to be here.
Awesome, man. Yeah, we're excited to have you on. I hope you're having a good week so far. Let me just go through a few admin bits and then we'll jump straight into our session. All right, man? So, if you're not familiar and you've not listened to any of our shows, then you won't know that DappRadar is in fact the world's leader in Dapp analytics and tracking. Our data feeds traditional media like Bloomberg and crypto-specific media like Cointelegraph and Decrypt, and many more. And at the same time, our suite of products from the portfolio manager to our NFT value estimator give the community the tools they need to navigate this pretty complex space. Most importantly, to stay ahead of the noise and stay well informed. So as always, we record the sessions so people can catch up later. Sometimes we dive into some topics that are quite complicated. If you want to unpack any of that in your own time, you can. Just head on over to YouTube where this session will be posted very shortly after we've finished here. You'll also find a bunch of other videos that will help you along your journey. We do publish a lot of educational videos and content, so check it out. If there's a question you've got, ask it there. It will probably be an answer. All right, so what's been going on in the world of blockchain, dapps this week so far? As I was say, it's Wednesday, but already we've got so much happening. There's a new NFT collection out there called Utes, which is trending on Twitter hard. But the reason it's trending is because they've had their Twitter accounts suspended. So yesterday we reported on them as a new cool collection to kind of have a look at. And today their Twitter accounts have been suspended. We don't know why. We've written an article about it on the blog. We've updated it. Go check it out. Keep on top of that. See what's happening. We've also seen another pretty interesting NFT collection called Vitalik Pumps. This is based off the back of a pretty funny image that's been doing the rounds over the last couple of days. I think it was from the weekend. Those of you that have seen that image may know what I'm talking about. If you don't, type in Vitalik Pumps NFT and you will find out what I'm on about. We've also written an article on how the Ethereum merge will affect dapps. It's one of the topics that's not really been spoken about too much as everybody zooms in on the price of Ethereum. So if you're interested in that or you're a developer and you're building dapps and you know that the changes are coming, go and check that out. We also released our stablecoin report, which took a pretty deep dive into the major stablecoins out there at the moment. And that's been picked up by all the major media outlets. So you can catch that out there doing the rounds as well. And also just lastly, Bill Gates, well, not Bill Gates, Microsoft came out and called blockchain domains the next big threat. So I wrote about that recently, and I'd really like to know what everybody thinks about what he's saying. I wouldn't say it's a threat for users like you guys. It's more a threat for his business model or the Microsoft business model. So as I say, all this stuff's on the blog, plus loads of guides, education articles, and trends to make sure you guys are one step ahead. So go check that out, but not now, because now we're going to kick off our chat with Sidharth. And I'm going to ask you, Sid, we always do this thing called an elevator pitch, all right? So I want you to imagine that you're trapped in an elevator with me for about a minute. I know, I'm sorry. I have a t-shirt on that says I'm an investor. And I want you to tell me why I should pay attention to Tegro. What's going on here? No pressure. Off you go.
That's a good one, Ken. Okay, so Tegro is an ecosystem, and we are building a game asset marketplace that is specifically designed for games as well. And here, if you are a player, you can pick your game and you can play your game without any blockchain wallet. If you are an investor, you can easily create bounties and earn from your assets. And if you're a trader, you can easily trade your assets and all around the games part. So as simple as that.
Nice, pretty simple pitch there. I'm quite interested. Definitely need to know more. I'm sure you're not a stranger to doing pitches, Sidharth, so that's not new to you. Did well there. Good work. So remember, guys in the audience, you can ask questions. All right, so that's why we're here. If anybody wants to throw some questions out there, please do. But do remember, we're not here to talk about WazirX. That's a different project. We are here to talk about Tegro. So keep that in your mind as well if you have questions today. Alrighty, so before we jump into what Tegro is and what it does and how it works, I want to go back to the beginning and talk about the people behind the project. So let's start at the beginning a little bit. Can you tell us about yourself, journey into crypto and blockchain, and obviously having co-founded WazirX, you're not a newbie in this space. So tell us a little bit about yourself, man. What are your experiences? And also, just lastly, a little bit about the team you've put around yourself at Tegro.
Yeah, awesome. So I think the journey for me in the Web3 space started probably way back, or the introduction to crypto happened probably in 2013 when I met a professor who told me about Bitcoin and told me this is the internet money. I mean, obviously, I had like anybody else, I was debating with him, trying to figure out, how is this possible? You have something called as internet money made out of thin air. But I think that's when he told me that, do you know how money works? And it just got me that as a question. And I kept thinking about it. And over the time, I started reading a bit more on it, but more on a side thing, right? I was already running a business startup. But over time, I realized the power of what Bitcoin could be and could become. And that's when I started investing into Bitcoin. Probably I started investing when it was $100, $200, those range. And I think in 2017 is when things started going up. I think I probably sold it when it touched $1,000 or $2,000, somewhere on those range. And I thought this was the best thing ever. I never knew that this was going to go to $20,000, right? So, but still, I think it just caught my attention in terms of how this could be reimagined. And we were running another startup which was sort of already fighting against centralization, and we believed that decentralization was a big key, and that's when we started building WazirX, and the whole journey started. The whole journey into crypto started right there, and I think it's been a rabbit hole since then in terms of how we got deeper into it. Many things about markets we learned. And in that whole thing, my love for games was always there, and I was investing into games in 2018 as well. And I always believe that games are a very good, use case for crypto. And then as and when we started more diving in, I started putting my money in, and probably in 2018 end, I started losing these funds. Just like a lot of people, right?
Like a lot of people, yeah, true.
Yeah, and that's when you start doing your research, right? Till that time, you're all
chicken and egg. You're supposed to have done it first, Sid, but yeah, no, you are right. You are absolutely correct. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely right. And that's when you start doing research. You're like, hey, how did I lose my money? Till that time, you're listening to your friends, you're listening to every other influencer talking about, this is the next big thing. But then when you start doing your research, is when you realize, yes, there is an upside to it, but there is also, some of the bits that's still not built yet, right? The fundamentals. And to me, what my discovery was that since I was already building WazirX, I was building markets, I discovered that most of the games lacked good economics, and these are fundamental economics because of which there is leakage of value within the games. Even today, the games have not evolved so much in economics, but still, I believe if we have those things sorted out, I think this is going to be next big thing. And I think in a very nutshell, I can tell you that I've been working with games since 2018. I've seen how users have been, sort of building around it and sort of building their community and how they're playing the different types of profile. I just believe this is going to be next big thing, and we are just too early in the space. And that's why I'm excited about Tegro, which is kind of building all around Web3 gaming space.
Nice. Okay, interesting journey. Like a couple of things you said there really piqued my interest as well. Like I was going to actually ask you, are you a gamer? Was games something that you were into? So now you've kind of nailed that. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense that you're going to shift into this area.
So by the way, when I was in college, I used to make Counter-Strike maps. This was
so it runs deep.
Counter-Strike
runs deep with you.
Yeah. So if you see my alias, I was a big fan of Source Engine, and if you see my alias, it already has Source. So that was more inspired from that back then, and I think I just kept that name. Buddha Source is from the Valve Source Engine. So yeah, that's how I'm connected to games.
Makes a lot of sense. So you'd already kind of dipped a toe into the world of kind of assets and things like that in gaming by creating these maps and kind of looking at what's possible. So that was super interesting. And then the other thing you said, which I want to kind of put out there as a thing that everybody should look into, is how money works. I think there's a lot of misconceptions about how money works in the world. And I think it's extremely important for everybody to understand how money is, where it comes from, how it's created in the traditional sense. So yeah, that was just something you said, and I just wanted to highlight that. But yeah, man, thank you very much. I knew you'd have an interesting background, so I wanted to start there for sure. So one of the other things I wanted to kind of get into your head about, Sid, is the fact about the Indian market. So I mean, I've been to India quite a few times. I'm actually of like half Indian descent, so I know the country and the culture a little bit, but I'm not really that up to date with the younger generation and how they view crypto and NFTs. Could you shed a bit of light on the scene over there in India and how things are going over there for our listeners?
Absolutely, okay, and I didn't know about that, but good to see a half Indian there again. But from an India perspective, right? I think India has a very two dimension to it. One is a developer ecosystem. India is known for having a lot of techies on board, and then obviously the consumer side of Web3. I've been investing into a lot of projects, and I've seen India sort of leading into a lot of projects, the tech projects coming out of India. When you look at across the world, even from an investment point of view, you see a lot of portion is being actually being taken away by founders from India.
Yeah.
So I think from a development point of view, so that's one scene which is amazing. There's a lot of healthy work being done, and I foresee a lot more projects coming from there, especially around the DeFi side. When we were looking at the consumer side of things, right, we were surprised even at WazirX to see a very big market right in India. And these are not the tier 1 markets, right? The metro markets. These are the tier 2, tier 3, these kind of markets, where they already have exposure to internet. They already know a lot about internet than what we imagine that they would know, right? Because they have direct internet access, and the kind of knowledge that they consume is fantastic. And that way, when they coming on board to crypto, I see, even though they probably not able to talk everything in English, but the kind of knowledge they have is fantastic, and sort of the contribution that they're doing is amazing. So I think from a very hindsight, this is an amazing market to be also, where the folks from India, from a retail perspective, are coming on board to crypto, and everybody is been thinking about having a big strategy on that as well, right? So today we do have some regulatory issues in terms of how do we sort of capture that. But I think that is the case anywhere else, right? Every country is trying to figure this out. How do they balance the regulatory existing regulation to the new regulation, right? The future. So I think that's going to be a norm every. But having said that, there's a huge potential in general.
Nice. Do you see a lot of kind of like absolutely with you on the side of the development side of things? It's a country that's sort of nurtured a lot of incredibly intelligent people who are now working in Web 2. Do you see a lot of thirst from those people to switch from Web 2 to Web 3 development? Are they keen, or are they kind of like, I'd rather stay in Web 2?
No, absolutely. I think everybody is now thinking about Web 3 strategy. I mean, in fact, during bull market, I was just busy, advising people just to figure out, how their business can have a Web3 strategy, right? Not everything has to be a Web3 product, but then still, everybody's open to it, and they all want to take an advantage into the next big thing. So there's obviously a lot of openness, and there's a lot of developer community that is being formed, where there's a lot more educational stuff being sort of spread across, and it's all community driven. It's still not driven by one entity, right? A company. It's all community driven. So I think as a culture point of view, it's amazing. And this is the foundation that is needed to build something big in future.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. It's really good points that you made there. Thank you, Sid. That's really interesting to hear what's happening over there, because obviously it's quite difficult to find out what's going on at a grassroots level for us guys here. But yeah, and about the regulation side of things, you're absolutely right. It's feels like a bit of a pivotal moment for these things at the moment. I'm personally in favor of regulation. I think we need it. It's going to help us. But as you say, everybody's trying to figure things out, how they need to let innovation breathe at the same time as, protecting users as well. So tricky times, but I'm sure we'll get to a good end, definitely. But right now, the industry seems to be getting super hyped about gaming, Dapp games driving millions of users into the blockchain for their kind of first taste of Web3. And what do you think about the blockchain gaming space and its potential? Like, we touched on it in the first question, but do you think in-game NFTs are the next big asset class, Sid?
Absolutely. I think so here's the story, right? Like, so I've been selling Bitcoin to everybody, and when I sell Bitcoin, I have to I have to explain them, how money works. It's a very difficult problem to even explain, right? Like, to just explain how money works.
Sure.
Then comes Ethereum. Then I have to explain them, hey, how cloud computing works. So it's another, next level. Then I have to explain them how DeFi works. I give up, right? Like, how DeFi token
don't
works.
try with that one.
It's too complicated. But when you tell anybody about digital assets, like digital land, digital anything, right? Digital assets, it's much more easier. They get it because even before crypto existed, these things existed, right? And these are things that has already been there. And I think that was an amazing aha moment for me, where probably in 2018, where people don't need to understand how DeFi and everything else work, because now they immediately understand what this means. They understand how a digital land will create more demand, because in real life they understand how land.
Yeah.
So there's a shared analogy, which in general creates mass appeal, right? Like, now people understand this as a commodity assets rather than something complicated, how the protocol will use and do that.
Yeah.
So I think that was another revelation in general. And if you think about it, right, so far crypto has only been played around with traders, investors, or maybe a very high tech developer who understand how crypto works. But suddenly, when we put use cases like games, it was much more easier for people to understand how crypto can change their today's life, or how it is changing something that they've been using today. So I think that those kind of use cases was really important, and it sort of appeals to more masser audience. Even if today, if you look at it, gaming industry, right, in general, just last year, it did about revenue of what, $250 billion, which makes it already a $1.2 trillion industry, the entire gaming industry, which is even bigger than crypto as of today. So if you think about it, tomorrow, if we are so far it was only the players who are playing the games. But if you are introducing two very important people who have money, that is traders and investors, into the entire gaming ecosystem, it just increases the market cap by at least 2x or 3x. That's increasing the market cap by at least $2 to $3 trillion market. And I think that's pretty exciting. We are very early in this, but if the adoption happens in the gaming with Web3 and Web3 assets and investments and trading, all these things that we are seeing, where people are doing it without understanding the assets in the current form, but in future they will understand these assets and do it. I think we are opening the gates for a bigger market, and sort of expanding this to the next big thing. And I believe this is an inevitable future. The more I see it, because I've seen this since 2018, right?
Yeah.
Seen this growing, and I just feel that the adoption is just growing. But I think we still need to do some more groundwork. That's fine.
Yeah.
But definitely a future to look forward to.
Definitely. I'm just kind of sitting here nodding along, Sid. Like, obviously, I've been with DappRadar for a number of years now. So I also, since 2018, 19, been looking at these things, and they seem to make logical sense that it would be the direction that we will go. So I'm totally with you. And the idea that up until the visual side of things came along, the games and NFTs, people found it quite difficult to kind of relate to crypto. Like, if they weren't instantly interested in making money, like if you're not driven by money, then you're not really going to be interested in jumping into DeFi. But if if you like playing games and you don't, who I don't think many people mind making money, then they can have a bit of, the fun comes first, right? So the fun comes first, and then
Correct.
they're learning without even realizing. Like when you're playing a GameFi game, for example, as you rightly say, people are learning the DeFi mechanics with a nice visual on top. So it's for me, it's been a really cool time because it's teaching a lot of people about the mechanics of DeFi and crypto. They probably don't even know about it. And I think that's the best thing. Like when you try to really ram it down somebody's throat, they tend to run the other direction. But when they come to us and they want to learn, I think it's really strong. So totally agree with you, man. Like, but again, as you said, we are early and we've got a lot of work to do. So, and that's my next question really is like, let's talk about the kind of problems that you see for Web3 games out there right now. We touched on tokenomics very early. And like with all these sudden changes, this is what's happening. The gaming industry is fundamentally getting flipped on its head. How is Tegro planning to kind of address these issues? And what problems do you see for Web3 games that you want to solve?
Absolutely. So I think Tegro has a two different vision. One is Tegro as a product, but also we are doing something more open source, which is more of a I think later we can discuss more around that. But primarily from a problem point of view, right? Today the games. So you have to understand this, that the gaming industry has been evolving for ages, like decades. And the gameplay has been evolving for almost 2 to 3 decades, right? Like very easily, how you have fun, how do you play something, the mechanics, the physics, the sound system, many things have been evolving. But today, suddenly we are now touching a very important aspect within the game, that is an open economy, right? Till now, we have never played with open economy. There were games that has done that, EVE Online and many other, famous games that have done it, but not at this scale, right? Where everything is transparent, because blockchain actually takes out the cheaters from an economy, right? Like so because of the entire infrastructure, you are able to bring a transparent economy out, so it gives another layer to the entire gaming industry. So far the gaming economics was very inverted gaming economics. It's a closed loop gaming economics, but today we are going to an open economy, right, where everybody has a similar rights, everybody has a similar power to do certain things. And everything is also transparent. So in this, it's a first experiment we are doing, right? I think probably we are just 4 years into it. And obviously, not the first time we'll get it right. So we do have the game mechanics being evolved for multiple decades. This economics is something that we need to evolve. And I think I've already seen in 2018 where games have gone down. And I've actually helped a couple of games to sort of rebuild their economy, which has still worked. So there are games that has been working since 4 years and have not gone into hyperinflation or all these things that we all talk about, right? But of course, if we are able to evolve that, the most important thing that we are going to do with that is we are going to protect these investors and traders and players who are putting their money or time or into these games. And these games need to have better economics in place where they are able to capture value. So I think that's one problem that we want to solve on the side, because that is good for the industry in the long term perspective, right? Because that brings in more confidence for more people to come in and sort of create value right here. So that's the part we call it Tegronomics, where it's primarily our learning, putting together more as an open source framework for other games to sort of take over. And there's a lot of learning right there since we were a part of this, the journey since 4 years.
Mm-hmm. Nice. All right. So I think we've kind of outlined what it is that there's some good background here and kind of the industry that you guys are attempting to break through into. So I think it's about time we actually tell people what Tegro is, what the idea and what it helps customers do. So this is your new project. Tell people about it and what it's all about and what you're hoping to achieve here.
Right. I think in a very simplest form, it's the easiest way to discover a game and play a game and earn from that, right? We are just making it really, really simple. You don't need to create any of the wallets, no Web3 things. It's just make it very simple. So what we are creating is a very amazing bounty marketplace for everybody, where even if you own an asset, you can easily create a bounty and players can easily play your bounty. They play with your assets, they play it, and the moment they hit the objective, whatever the bounty is, we keep we track that on blockchain. The moment we realize that you have completed your bounty, you get paid in your Tegro account instantly. So you don't need to wait for 15-day cycle, 14-day cycle to get paid. You just play the game, you get you complete your bounty, and then you get paid. So we make it much more easier for the next millions of users who are coming into crypto. They don't have to go through the entire thing of setting it up, waiting for 14 days, get paid, and then ultimately liquidating. So these are very simple things that we are doing, which makes the user experience better. And of course, once you have the capital, you can easily trade in our exchange, where you can trade any of the assets. Take, for example, you can take another asset and then put that into bounty and then earn from that again. So it's overall for you, I mean, for anybody to get started, is the best place. You don't need to hunt around for different places to understand, which new game is coming. Simply pick a game, play it, and earn from that. As simple as that.
Sid, sorry, just to jump in there, because I just want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly. So the bounty, so for example, I can have an NFT from a game on, I don't know, Polygon or something like that I've bought and I've invested in, and then I can put that onto Tegro and attach bounties to that, and that's what I would do. And then someone else comes along, picks that NFT up, agrees to complete the bounty, gets paid for that. Have I understood correctly? Is that right, or is that not right?
Yes, as simple as that. Right.
Nice. All right, cool. So NFTs from across all blockchains. Talk to us about this, because obviously we've got a plethora of networks out there with different asset classes, Ethereum, NFTs, Polygon, blah, 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 and so on. So how does that work in terms of, which networks do you support?
Yeah.
Who can put their NFTs here?
Yeah, so one very important part is, because we are solving this problem, our Tegro is still a centralized service, right? So it's still not a Dapp. It's somewhere we manage everything. So just like, if you're trading on Binance or WazirX, you don't need to worry about where Matic is, where Solana is. You just trade that, and it's as simple as that. So we abstract that part from users, and we just manage that on the back end, right? So for us, we just make it very, very easy for users to sort of play. So technically, you can play any game from any blockchain on Tegro.
Whoa, that's pretty cool. So this is kind of like an expansion on this kind of gilding systems that some of the early play to earn games put in, right? Like,
Absolutely.
you were kind of inspired by that, or is that right?
Yeah, so I think very principally, there are three types of economy, right? Producer economy, consumer economy. Even in games, there is producer, people who are producing the assets, and there's consumer who are using these assets to play. But there's also a third economy called as service economy, right? Which people don't need to own to play; they can actually play for wages, and that's the idea behind it. Where instead of in real life, you don't need to own a factory to produce stuff. You can work at a factory at a wage. So it's a very simple analogy. It's a very primitive economics, where we are actually diving into it. The way I see it is, guilds will actually be using this to strategize their minting of new assets, of their assets, and they can easily get more players from the markets. And for them, I think the major thing would be the strategizing what to mint, right? I think they, just like how a trader would do what to buy and how to sort of play that. So I think we see guilds and micro guilds moving towards that. And most importantly, if, like, say, Kane, if you have invested into an couple of assets, say it's worth $10,000, you don't have the time to play, and you don't also have the time to create a guild, right? All you have to do is create bounties and let people do that for you.
Pretty nice. It's like a different form of investment, right? And then I'm just thinking about the different Dapp games that are out there, Sid. So like, there's many games. Some of them are really difficult to get into if you don't know about blockchain wallets and other things like that. How are you guys, like, are you going to start off by kind of pushing people towards those games where it's really easy to get on board, or how have you thought about that at all? Like, are you being picky, I guess, is the question, with the games that you push out there?
Yeah, I think technologically, it's still difficult to sort of create a seamless experience. So we are creating video tutorials right when you play the game. So even if you don't have it, there'll be a video tutorial just tell you how to complete this particular bounty. So we're just making it much more, making it really dumbed down for people to understand how to play this. Obviously, it's difficult to pan across all the games. So we are starting with bunch of few games to start with. But over time, we know that we will figure this out because not everybody should play every game. They have to qualify to play certain games, skill levels. So those kind of things will come in. But at a very high level, this is what it is. I think as and when more things comes in, you need to qualify certain bounties to play a next game, or the basics of certain bounties in a game to play more of this level 2 bounty of a game.
Yeah, you'll
Things like
qualify
that.
yourself as a player, won't you? If you've done this, then that means you're qualified to do that. If you haven't done this, you
Absolutely.
probably won't be able to do that, and so on and so on. That makes a lot of sense. No, that's cool.
And the most important thing is that most of these users are KYC users, right? So it's not
Yeah.
even bots. So then we have genuine users who are actually playing the game. And also from a company point of view, even as a gamers, like game studios, they're pretty excited because on day one they get player liquidity, right? Like they don't need to go into just doing influencer marketing or just spending money anywhere. But now here they have more easier way to sort of grow their user
Do you
base.
think in the future, Sid? I mean, I'm just sitting here thinking a little bit on the side. Sorry, I am listening as well, obviously, but I'm thinking about the whole. I'm thinking about all the ideas. It happens all the time. I'll be honest, because people tell me
Absolutely. I
they
love
ask me
this.
such interesting. They do talk about such interesting things, and then I start to think of new ideas on the side. So, how about the idea of kind of games launching through your platform to an instant audience? You know what I mean? Like it wouldn't be so simple because obviously, have you thought
Absolutely.
about that?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, the game studios we've been talking about, they are so excited about it. They are saying, hey, when their game is ready, they want to do this
Nice.
because you know what? They themselves can create bounties and they get player liquidity on day one to create the network effect, which was never possible even before this.
Exactly.
So even through guilds, they have very limited genre of users that they can reach out to. But here they can easily reach out to more people and thereby jump starting their network.
Pretty cool because you've got sort of a two-pronged business here. You've got the people that perhaps have got holding these NFT assets, but as you say rightly, they don't really have time to play. That's one side of the market, and then you've got on the other side of the market, which is a bunch of people who really are interested in this, but don't have the money to fork out for a really expensive NFT to take a chance. It's very cool. Like it makes perfect sense to me, and you're obviously doing a very good job of explaining it, which is why it all makes perfect sense. So I wanted to jump into these Tegronomics a little bit deeper, if possible. We did speak about them a second ago, and I noticed that you've got a tab on the website, and it was called Tegronomics. So straight away, I was like, "What is this?" And it's kind of explained as a better way to build an economic model for Web3 games. So can you kind of outline this model for us a little bit, and why you think it's better than the framework some games are using and what currently exists?
Absolutely. I think there are a couple of these theses. First, I'll just go through, how I see the generation of games economics will evolve for games. So when I started working with games before in 2018, most of the games had only NFTs. The problem of NFTs are very illiquid markets, right? And that's something that I realized much later. When the markets are not healthy, what is illiquid market? So basically, just for everybody to understand. So if, say, for example, if you were to buy land and every land is different and you have $10,000 worth of land to buy and every land is $1 each, it means that you have to place 10,000 different orders to buy this land. Okay, different lands, and every land is different. One will be at the corner, one will be on the side, wherever you will take more time to buy. And then once you're trying to sell that, you need to find this 10,000 buyers as well, because they need to be convinced that this land is better than the other land. So it's difficult to buy and sell. But if you were to buy $10,000 worth of Ethereum, it's easy to buy and sell because it's just one order and you can sell it off, and one order you can buy it off. So that's the problem with non-fungibility and fungibility, right? Like non-fungibility is very difficult from a market perspective. It's usually a very illiquid market, and fungibility gives you the liquid markets. So this is the baseline of things. Most of the games are starting with NFT marketplaces or NFTs. And what happens is their asset markets become very weak. And when the market becomes weak, the overall game becomes economically non-viable, because people are not able to sell. People are buying, putting their hard-earned money, but if they are not able to sell that, it becomes a problem. And that slowly becomes a problem when the market goes down. And it sometimes simply kills the market itself, right? And it's a very, in reality also, if when you talk about recession, What is recession? We talk about recession when the markets, the overall global market goes down. So there's always a relationship between health of an economy versus, what the
Yeah.
market shows. And this is a very important learning even for me then, saying, hey, we have to make sure the markets are great. So what's the solution to that? That's the generation two. Generation two is where we have mix of fungible economics, assets, and there's a little bit of NFT. Just like in real life, you have, a lot of these things are fungible, like in our life. So I have created a pyramid which is called the based on Maslow's law of hierarchy, where you have the bottom layer, which is the need-based economy, the most fungible one. Then the mid layer, we call it the the want-based economy. Like, some it's like things like car. Car is good to have. It's not the most important thing. It's good to have. You get, and then comes the achievement based economy, which is a tip of the pyramid, which is like, I don't want just a car, I want a Lamborghini, like that special car, which is less in number. So if you see, the construct of an economy is the most fungible and the least fungible on top, right? And you cannot create an economy only with the least fungible on top, because it doesn't hold the economy sustainably. So these are very basic fundamentals of how you should have fungibility and non-fungibility together in an gaming assets as well. So to decide between which asset should have the maximum supply, next asset should have less supply, and some of the assets which are special should have no supply, should be only one or two. So I think what has happened is, because games are coming from Web 2, in the Web 2 world, they've been selling only those special items, because only few users in the games actually do in-app purchase. So it's always designed for them. But when an open economy doesn't work, right? So these are very fundamental economics. Then comes the generation 3, which is very important, where you call the SLP problem or GMT problem, where if you have 10,000 users, you have 10,000 SLP being generated. If it's 1 million users, you have 1 million SLP generated. So you need to create a Ponzi-nomics to actually sustain this economics. But in reality, in Ethereum or Bitcoin, if you have one miner or millions of miner, the rate of supply is constant, because there's something called as difficulty within that, which controls the supply of the Ethereum. So very similarly, these are very simple economics that has to be brought in even in the game assets. You cannot have unlimited supply of things. You need to have controlled supply of things. And the last part is obviously the job economy I spoke about, right? The three economies. We have to consider that free to play is a very important play. Not everybody has to own assets. Even in real life, not everybody has to own a factory to produce. Not everybody has to be an entrepreneur. They can work for somebody. And I think that kind of economics is something that we need to embrace and sort of build for it. So overall, when you build all these frameworks together, some more maths together, we have models, these things together, which makes it fundamentally sustainable. Now, obviously, the game has to be good. This underlying game has to be better. But at least fundamentally, we know we are far better than what we are doing today, where it is, simply a sync model, where there is no predictability of supply. Investors are losing money, so they don't come back again, right? So those kind of things. So we are sort of, building this framework, trying to make it more open source, and trying to get more games to sort of adopt to it, so that they are more sustainable in nature. They live for more time. And it's good for everybody.
Absolutely
else.
makes perfect sense. And I just want to say, that's the first time I've heard somebody mention Maslow's law since I was at university. So that was kind of cool. It brought me back a little bit there, and I just looked it up again. So that's really cool. But really interesting things that you're saying there, Sid, as well about, and one thing that kind of peaked again for me was this ownership of assets. Like the world we live in now, it appears over the last kind of 5 to 10 years, ownership of assets has become less important, but access to assets has become more important. If you look at things like Airbnb, biggest hotel room supplier on earth, don't own any hotels. Uber, the same, don't own any taxis. Making business in that way. So yeah, I can see that's the trend, and that's the way we're going. So actually, it makes even more sense. Yeah, very interesting model there. So, and as you say, again, I think it's important to note, as you say, it's a model. And the game still has to be good, and it's the fundamental model that you can work from. But you still have to, it's not the holy grail. Let's say that it's not like you don't just bolt this model in and hope and everything goes great. Like there's still a lot of work to do around the edges, obviously. But it gives, and again, I think it's important that what we said at the beginning as well. Sid, we were talking about how money works, and what you're describing here is the traditional sense of supply and demand. And in the Web 2 world where games were set up and they didn't expect everybody to make purchases. So they were high prices. They knew that if they got 5% of their players to purchase, they could break even and so on and so on. So it was like, a lot of interesting points there as well as to why there's a demand here as well. Cool. And I just want to say that you do a really nice job of explaining things, Sid. So thank you. Also, regarding questions, it's just come to my attention that if you do have questions, there's somebody in the general Discord chat answering those all from your platform, actually, Sid. So if you've got a question, head on in there. Someone will answer it for you. All good. We'll keep our chat to our chat. All right, thank you, man. So that's Tegronomics. So as Sid's explained, it's a model. And if you're interested in learning more about that, you can hit them up or you can check out the website and we'll throw all the links out there at the end. So alongside this model that you guys have created, you've also got something called the Tegro X Program. And this is kind of seems to have stemmed out of grants or something like that. So can you tell us a bit more about this?
Yeah, I think, like I said, right, we want to create an ecosystem. We want to create better games coming on board. So one of my co-founder is Robbie, who's been, building games for almost 10 years, right? And we've been working very closely since almost 6 or 8 months. What we are trying to do is, to create models or create an incubation, process where we can get more Web 2 games to Web 3. And especially building the Tegronomics part into it, right? To educating them, because every game is different. Just because you don't know the economics, you don't know how to implement that into the game. The gameplay changes. How do you balance between gameplay and too much money? All those kind of things. So this is a process where we are actually getting more games. We actually interviewed almost 120 game studios, and out of which 12 were part of it. And then we realized, hey, you know what? These games still need a lot of work. So, we are a little pivoting ourselves to I would say, optimize furthermore. And we are figuring it out. How do we do this at scale? If we want to foresee, hundreds of games coming in next 1 or 2 years. So that's the thing, that this is an initiative. It's under Tegro X, led by my co-founder,
Nice.
Robbie, who knows games very well. And my side, I'm talking about more of how money works part and Web3 works
Nice.
coming
So
together.
that kind of side of things is like in nurturing Dapp games, and that's interesting that you sort of went through 120, and out of those, I mean, what did you learn from looking at those 120? Was it a case of, oh God, there's a lot of work to do here for us, because you don't want to really be on, like how many white papers can you read? Right?
I think the very interesting thing is these guys were first time game builders, right? So that's one part of it. A lot of them actually. I mean, they are basically crypto guys trying to build games, and obviously they were also game guys building crypto, Web3 games. So it's a mix of both. We did realize that everybody was getting stuck of how money works, right? I think that was the biggest understanding, because everybody was just copying Axie Infinity or another game, thinking that works really well, but not thinking individually or fundamentally trying to think, hey, does it work like this or does it not work like this? So these are things that we actually help them think about and sort of build a better fundamentals around how to do this. Obviously, the way we did it probably was not the right way to do it, in the sense we could not help all the 120 guys, right? So the idea is, how do we help the 120 guys? So I think we are trying to figure this out in a better way, probably do an online class, and everybody can follow in some educational program, because the idea is to get more better games on board, and we should all have opportunity to take advantage of this next big thing that's happening here.
And like, it's quite interesting what you're saying. You've got crypto guys building games for money's purposes, and then you've got gamers building games for fun. It's almost like the logical step is to put these two gangs together in a room and say, you guys need to talk to you guys. You need to understand how games can be fun, and you need to understand economies. Like, it's I'm sure it's not that easy though, right? You might need to facilitate it a little bit more than that, but interesting.
But I think we'll crack it. We'll definitely crack it. I think it's just about a couple of more pivots, and we will figure out a model that helps more people. So yeah.
And it's interesting as well what you say about, kind of copy and pasting the Axie model, because Axie have got their own problems. Like, Axie's a great project, but they're still kind of tweaking their economic model right now, in fact, with land gameplay and other things that have come in. So arguably there isn't actually a kind of benchmark project out there. Like I always kind of say that we need the Angry Birds of the Dapp Games world, somebody that really nails it and kind of shows everybody else this is how you do it. And arguably we don't really have that yet, do we? I don't think. Or am I wrong, Sid? Do you think there's something out there that's doing well in that regard?
Yeah, so like I said, I've been working on a game which is probably the oldest crypto game, Web3 game, and also I think in DappRadar or some other place, it's one of the biggest farm simulation or simulation game. It's called Crop Bites, and back then when it was built, that time you did not have fungible NFTs, so you did not have 1155. So most of their assets were a little more centralized. But the game still does very well, and they are now making it more 1155 friendly and things around it. So they're doing pretty good. There's another game that is coming based on Tegronomics. We've been testing and modeling their economics, and it's still sort of at least solves all the problems that you have seen today in most of the games. So that's called Ethereum. So that's also coming soon. So at least at least I have two games I know that from an economic point of view it's sustainable. But obviously there'll be somebody who's solved this better, and I would love to see that and learn from that, and also spread that to more people to sort of adopt.
I think one of the projects I've really kind of admired their economic model is Splinterlands as well. That's one I've kind of looked at, and I spoke to those guys a few weeks ago, and they seem to have a really good grip on there. But again, they've been around for a long time. People tend to kind of batch up these Dapp games and say, oh, they're all kind of new, but some of these games have been around for 3-4 years already, so they have learned a lot more than the guys that popped up last year, for example, right? And speaking of people that popped up recently, so you guys are this project is kind of new, and you launched a waitlist for the launch, right? I saw that on the website. How did that go?
Oh my God, we were not expecting this response, right? We thought we probably will sign up 10,000 users in a month, and everything, the servers were not tuned up well. We thought probably will be just a very small thing, but I think that within 48 hours we signed up more than 50,000 users, or I think maybe close to 100k users. And within a week's time we did 440k users we signed up. So today we have 440k users who are just waiting to for our product to go live. And I think pretty excited. Like we did not see this through, but it's still good to see that there's still a lot more demand in the gaming side. And hope that what we are building literally creates more value for them.
Man, it's very cool, and must be a nice feeling as well to have come from to launch something pretty fresh and new and have that kind of response. It makes you very positive about going forward, right? If it had been an opposite response, you might start to question. Nice.
Absolutely. I mean, the best part is even before this with WazirX we built $1 billion business, right? And again, starting all over again, it's an amazing feeling. Like it just gives you another high. So to just see that numbers going up again is like, wow. I was just most of our team were like completely glued on. Community team has been working day and night to talk to everybody. So everybody was caught off guard, and I think it was a nice.
It's always nice to be caught off guard with those kind of surprises, though, right? It's a lovely thing. You don't mind staying up late when you're getting compliments and things are going well. It's when things are breaking and you're up till 5 a.m. A bit of a problem. All right, so we're getting towards the end of the session, Sid, and one of the things that you've got a forthcoming product that's coming out as well, this play to earn marketplace. And I just wondered if you could tell us a little bit more about that. Any dates, any information about the launch of that coming? What's happening?
Yes, I think our team has been working really hard. We were hoping to get it launched by August, but you know how it is. It's always there is something that needs to be done. So hopefully by mid of September or late September we should have this. If you guys are looking forward to be more engaged in Web3 games, head out and sign up for sure. And we do a lot of educational. So the way we want to grow our industry, our community, just like DappRadar, is to bring in more education about the industry itself, how money works, how games work, how many things works. And I think that's something that we've been also doing on the side. So yeah. So mostly, hopefully by September, you should have something going, and hopefully create more value for all of you guys. I'm very confident that you guys will love it. Definitely, version 1 may not give you the best experience, but that's where you come in and give us feedback so that
That's
we
it,
make
right?
it better.
Feedback, we can only grow from feedback, and it's really important to do that as well, and like throw that version out there and see what people make of it. Sometimes some of the people I talk to, they're so surprised, like you said with the launch, about what people do once they actually start to see their product in the wild and how people interact with it. Sometimes it's completely different to what they thought. So yeah, many lessons to be learned there as well, I guess. That's very cool. All right, so some interesting things on the horizon, and yeah, stay tuned on the Twitter and other places to catch up with the alpha there as well. And I just want to ask a question for you, Sid, as well. Like WazirX as a project, it's still, you're not pivoting. I just want to make this clear. Like, this is not a pivot of WazirX. WazirX is still happening, right? This is a project that you're running alongside. You're still very much involved in both, or what's the story there?
No, I think WazirX plays a very important role in terms of solving on-ramp fiat problems in India, right? It's a different market, it's a different problem to be solved, and I think today we have reached a stage that it's more working around compliances to make sure banking services are online and things around it, and we have set up a great team who was actually taking up and doing that at WazirX. So I think for me, I wanted something to be more challenging and something that is still more virgin that needs to be solved, and that's where the whole gaming ecosystem comes in. And so this is something that I've started on the side, which is completely different because this is completely focusing on the gaming side, gaming industry, and all the folks who love games and want to be part of the gaming
I like
growth.
it. Yeah, just to back up what you're saying there about your content, I was surfing around on your blog earlier. It's really nicely presented, a lot of like very helpful content there as well. And I think it's important, right? We have a role to play here in education, and I think yes, it's time consuming and sometimes a little bit frustrating, but it is one of the most important things we have to do, right? We have to make this topic easy to understand, which actually I think you've done an amazing job of today. But mainly we need to educate people on what they're missing out on, I think, right? And yeah, people should definitely go and check out the YouTube channel for Tegro and check out the Twitter. Lots of stuff there. One thing I wanted to ask about, you said you've got this team of people around you. Perhaps someone out there is listening thinking, I live in India and I really like the sound of this project and I would like to be involved with this project. Is there anything happening in regarding that with ambassadors, social media, like kind of people that can jump in and be champions for the project? Is there anything happening there that people can get involved with?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we are just too early to sort of set the framework right. But like I said, like you cannot build without a community, right? You cannot build without people. So we don't foresee. So we do team updates, we do community updates, everything that we are very transparent about how we do things. But we don't want to do it alone. We want to do it with people. So we just building this framework. So if you are interested, do reach out to us. And we are open to your suggestion as well how we should do this. And yeah, I think definitely something that is
Cool. So I
on
can
our
see a lot of
plates.
people asking questions, and yeah, it's an interesting subject as well. I mean, okay, cool. So thank you very much, Sid. I want to give the last question is kind of like, is there anything else that we haven't spoken about today that you want to get out there that you think that the community should know about? Perhaps just to say thank you and throw out the best places for people to connect with you guys. Is it Telegram? Is it Discord? Is it Twitter? Is it TikTok? Is it Facebook? Is it LinkedIn? Where should people connect with you guys? Let us know.
I think we are all over the place. So the best place to at least I would suggest is follow us on Twitter. We are Tegro5 on Twitter, and that's a good place to start. We have our Telegram where people are talking about it. People have been sharing about how they have seen certain economics of certain games, and we are trying to bring that education to everybody else. So yeah, and also our newsletter. We have a weekly newsletter that's full of educational stuff. And I really believe that if you are really serious about gaming, you should definitely educate yourself about how to look into any assets and how to see a value in it. these are secrets that you don't know about, and once you know how to trade that, and how to basically get involved. So I think it's going to be a long journey, but don't worry about it. We are the guys who been working, researching, and even obviously DappRadar, you guys have been doing a great job. I think everywhere, if you guys are here, you
That's it. I
learn
think,
together.
yeah, I couldn't agree more, to be honest. It's a very important time to kind of handhold people to work together, to be collaborative. And I think we'll talk again, Sid. Like, I can imagine in 6 months, 12 months time, there'll be even more exciting things to talk about. And who knows where the gaming markets will be by then as well. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a real pleasure chatting with you and finding out more about the project and yourself as well. So thank you, man. It's really appreciated. All right.
Thanks again. Thanks for the invite, and an amazing host. And I think the kind of questions you brought in
Thank you,
was
man.
very
Thank you.
fantastic.
Cool. So yeah, what else have we got going on? So that's all the time we've got for this week. And again, I want to say a massive thank you to our guest today, Sidharth. He's done a great job, and I really do believe, Sid, you've done an amazing job of outlining some really basic things that people perhaps didn't understand properly. And as you've said a couple of times, education is key here. Do your research. I think it's quite funny what we said at the beginning. When the prices are all going up, you don't tend to research things so hard. Then when the money starts to drop, you might start researching. Well, guess what, guys? That's kind of the wrong way around. So yes, what we were saying here is that it's not that difficult to understand things anymore. There's a lot of content out there for you to saturate. So go and check out the Tegro website. Go and check things out there, see what's happening, and also the DappRadar blog. Obviously, we cover a lot of stuff, so we have all those articles there as well. So a big thanks to all the listeners. Thank you so much. I really hope you learned something. And if you want to unpack anything we spoke about at your own pace, like I said, these sessions go onto videos and they get chucked up onto our YouTube really quick. So that should be there by tomorrow at the latest. All right. So thank you, everybody, again. Thanks for listening. Thank you, Sid, for joining me. Have a great rest of your day, and I hope everybody has a great week. Take care and see you soon.